From Congress's 2025 roadmap at the CWC meet in Ahmedabad to Tahawur Rana's extradition and a fresh flashpoint in India Bangladesh ties, let's get you all the big stories of the day in this news wrap. In the big news of the day, Rahul Gandhi addressed the Congress Working Committee meeting in Ahmedabad where he outlined key aspects of the party's strategy moving forward. Rahul Gandhi emphasized the need to connect with the other backward classes, OBCs, calling their past neglect a major strategic mistake. He pointed out that OBCs make up over 50% of India's population, and when combined with scheduled castes, STs, and scheduled tribes, STs, and minorities, they represent nearly 90% of the population. Apart from this, Gandhi also spoke on other crucial issues from the stage, underlining Congress's renewed focus on social justice, inclusive politics, and grassroots mobilization.
100 साल पहले महात्मा गांधी जी कांग्रेस पार्टी के प्रेसिडेंट बने थे और 150 साल पहले सरदार पटेल जी इस धरती पे पैदा हुए थे। गांधी जी, सरदार पटेल जी ये कांग्रेस पार्टी के फाउंडेशन है, कांग्रेस पार्टी की नींव है। भाषण का मेरा एक प्लान था, मगर अजय लल्लू जी ने कुछ कह दिया तो अब मेरा प्लान डाइवर्ट हो गया है। अभी उन्होंने कहा कि मैं पिछड़ों के लिए, दलितों के लिए, आदिवासियों के लिए, गरीब लोगों के लिए काम कर रहा हूं। वो सच है, मगर उन्होंने बात जोड़ी कि आने वाले समय में लोग मेरा नाम याद करेंगे और जैसे ही ये शब्द उनके मुंह से निकले तो मुझे एक बात याद आई। कुछ साल पहले एक जर्नलिस्ट मेरे से मिलने आए। हिंदुस्तान के जाने हुए जर्नलिस्ट हैं। ऑफिस में बातचीत चल रही थी। उन्होंने मुझे बोला कि वो या मुशर्रफ जी या नवाज शरीफ के मित्र थे और उन्होंने मुझे बताया कि उन्होंने नवाज शरीफ या मुशर्रफ जी से कहा था कि अगर आप हिंदुस्तान और पाकिस्तान के बीच में शांति लाएंगे तो पूरी दुनिया आपका नाम याद करेगी। और उस टाइम जब जर्नलिस्ट ने कहा था, मुझे एक बात याद आई थी। जैसे ही उसके मुंह से ये शब्द निकले थे, मेरे दिमाग में यह बात उठी थी कि मैं छोटा सा बच्चा था, 7-8 साल का, और मैंने इंदिरा गांधी जी से यह सवाल पूछा कि दादी, मरने के बाद आपके बारे में लोगों को क्या कहना चाहिए, क्या सोचना चाहिए। जानते हो इंदिरा गांधी जी ने क्या जवाब दिया, जो मुझे आज तक परफेक्ट जवाब लगा। उन्होंने कहा, राहुल, मैं अपना काम करती हूं, मरने के बाद लोग मेरा क्या सोचें क्या ना सोचें, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। मुझे इंटरेस्ट अपने काम से है, और अगर पूरी दुनिया मेरे मरने के बाद मुझे भूल जाए, वो भी मेरे लिए मंजूर है, अगर मैंने अपना काम पूरा किया। तो यही मेरी सोच है। लोग क्या सोचेंगे क्या नहीं सोचेंगे, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। सच्चाई क्या है और मुझे क्या करना है, वो मैं करना चाहता हूं।
A high-level team from India's National Investigation Agency (NIA), accompanied by intelligence officials, has arrived in the United States to secure the extradition of Tahavur Rana, a key accused in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. The move follows the US Supreme Court's rejection of Rana's plea to block his extradition. Currently lodged in Los Angeles, Rana is closely linked to Lashkar-e-Taiba operative David Headley, one of the main conspirators behind the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Upon arrival in India, Rana will be brought to the NIA headquarters in Delhi, where he will face interrogation under tight security. Here's a report on this.
A team of 3 senior National Investigation Agency officers along with 3 intelligence agency officials has reached the United States to get custody of Tahavur Rana, sources in the Home Ministry said. Rana is wanted in India for his alleged involvement in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. Earlier this month, the US Supreme Court denied Rana's application seeking a stay on his extradition to India. The 3-member NIA team, led by Inspector General Rank Officer Ashish Patra, includes Deputy Inspector General Rank Officer Jaya Roy and a Deputy Superintendent of Police Rank Officer. The officials left for the US on Sunday after getting confirmation of the surrender warrant. It requires a fugitive criminal to be surrendered to a foreign state, said sources. According to sources, once Rana is extradited, the NIA is expected to question him at its headquarters in Delhi, where security will be stepped up. His case is being looked after by the NIA's Delhi headquarters. There is no formal communication to the Tihar jail administration, but they have also started a security assessment of his cell. They are likely to lodge him in a high security ward. His cell will have CCTV cameras with inbuilt bathroom facilities, and they will monitor his activities 24/7, the source said. Rana, 64 years old, who is of Pakistani origin, is currently lodged in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles. He is known to be associated with Pakistani-American Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist David Coleman Headley, one of the main conspirators of the 2008 Mumbai attacks that claimed 166 lives. Paving the way for his extradition, the US Supreme Court on January 21st had rejected a review petition filed by Rana. It is learnt that after the US Supreme Court's decision, an NIA team was initially called to the US in January end, but officials there later sought more time to review all the documents. Senior officials of the Ministry of External Affairs, along with officials of the Home Ministry and the NIA, were in constant touch with US officials. They were informed that the US State Department was also coordinating with the Secretary of State for issuing the surrender warrant for Rana, a source in the MHA said. Rana is accused of aiding and abetting the attacks carried out by David Coleman Headley, with whom he went to school in Pakistan, and of participating in the terror conspiracy. Rana was arrested in Chicago in October 2009 for his involvement in the 26/11 attacks and the foiled attack on Danish newspaper that same year. The US District Court for the Northern District of Illinois prosecuted him for conspiracy to provide material support to terrorism in India and Denmark and to Lashkar-e-Taiba, the terrorist group. The jury acquitted Rana of the charge of conspiring to provide material support to terrorism in India, but convicted him on other two accounts. On January 7 in 2013, Rana was sentenced to 168 months in prison. On June 9, 2020, he was released on compassionate grounds. A day later, a magistrate judge in California, where Rana was serving his sentence, signed a provisional arrest warrant with a view to extraditing him to India based on a December 2019 extradition request. Rana opposed his extradition on the ground of double jeopardy. A magistrate judge rejected his arguments on May 16. In 2023, Rana then petitioned the US District Court for the Central District of California for a writ of habeas corpus. After this was rejected on August 10, 2023, he appealed in the Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. This too was rejected. Rana then filed a writ of certiorari in the US Supreme Court, which was rejected on January 21 this year. After Trump announced his extradition last month, Rana filed the emergency application in a last-ditch attempt to stay in the US, but that too was rejected.
Moving on to another news. India has officially revoked a key transshipment facility that allowed Bangladesh to export goods to neighboring countries such as Nepal, Bhutan, and Myanmar using Indian land and sea routes. The decision, outlined in a government circular dated April 8, follows closely on the heels of controversial remarks made by Bangladesh's interim chief advisor Muhammad Yunus during his visit to China. Here's the full detail.
India has decided to stop a special trade route that allowed Bangladesh to send its export goods through Indian roads to other countries, a move that could affect trade across South Asia. This transshipment setup was crucial for Bangladesh's export to countries like Nepal, Bhutan, and Myanmar. The announcement came on April 8 via a circular from India's Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. It effectively cancels a 2020 agreement that let Bangladeshi goods pass through Indian ports and airports using land customs stations. Goods already inside India will be allowed to move, but new consignments not anymore. What triggered this sudden move? The timing isn't random. Just days earlier, Bangladesh's interim chief advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus made headlines during his visit to China. Speaking in Beijing, Yunus described Northeast India as landlocked and claimed that Bangladesh is the only guardian of the ocean for the region. He suggested that the area could become an extension of the Chinese economy, with Bangladesh acting as the gateway. That didn't go down well in Delhi.
7 states of India, eastern part of India, called Seven Sisters, they are landlocked country, landlocked region of India. They have no way to reach out to the ocean. We are the only guardian of the ocean for all this region. So this opens up a huge possibility. So this could be an extension of the Chinese economy, build things, produce things, market things, bring things to China, bring it out to the whole rest of the world.
Many interpreted the remarks as Dhaka using geography for leverage and inviting China into the mix near India's sensitive northeast. The region is connected to the rest of the country by a narrow 22-kilometer corridor known as the Chicken Neck, making it a strategic pressure point. How does this impact trade in the region? For years, Bangladesh's exports benefited from smooth and cost-effective routes via India. Now, without those corridors, transit times will increase, costs will rise, and uncertainty will grow. Countries like Nepal and Bhutan, both landlocked, depend heavily on Indian infrastructure for their trade with Bangladesh. They could now face delays and restricted access, making them collateral damage in this diplomatic standoff. Ajay Srivatsava, head of the Global Trade Research Initiative, says the tipping point may have been Bangladesh's offer to let China invest in an old airbase near the Siliguri corridor, just miles from India's northeastern border. What is India's border concern with Bangladesh? India's concern goes beyond trade. At the recent News 18 Rising Bharat Summit, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar confirmed that Prime Minister Modi raised concerns directly with Professor Yunus. These included what Jaishankar described as radicalizing tendencies, attacks on minorities, and rhetoric coming out of people in Bangladesh. He said, and I quote, "As a democratic country, we believe democracies require elections. That's how mandates are given and renewed. So we hope they go down that path."
Particular issue came up for discussion. We have conveyed our concerns regarding treatment of minorities, the kind of violence that has happened against them, and we also highlighted and we have been doing this in several of our conversations, including when we had the meeting in Bangkok, that these violence and atrocities against the minorities cannot be just wished away or said that they are because of political reasons or they are media agitations. So we hope that the Bangladesh government will take strong action against those who are responsible for these atrocities.
As Bangladesh mulls holding elections between December 2025 and June 2026, and with China in the backdrop, the coming months could shape the next chapter of India-Bangladesh ties. Stay tuned for more updates.
Trinamool Congress MP Mahua Moitra has ignited a political controversy by alleging that meat and fish shops in Delhi's Chittaranjan Park were forcibly shut down by individuals linked to the BJP. She posted a video showing a man objecting to the presence of a fish market near a temple, claiming that local vendors were being threatened and pressured to close. Check our report for full details.
A political row has erupted in Delhi's Chittaranjan Park as Trinamool Congress MP Mahua Moitra alleged that meat and fish shops in the Bengali-dominated locality were being forcibly shut down. In a video posted on social media platform X, Moitra claimed that BJP-backed goons were threatening traders near a local temple in Market Number 1, which is a busy and popular hub in CR Park. She shared visuals of a man wearing a saffron-colored t-shirt, allegedly objecting to fish markets operating near the temple. Moitra also posted a WhatsApp message from a local resident calling the shop closures a terrible situation. CR Park, often referred to as Delhi's mini Bengal, is known for its vibrant Bengali culture and its iconic fish markets.
Hello, this is Mahua Moitra, Member of Parliament, Krishnanagar. I think everybody has seen the horrifying visuals of the lumpen BJP goons threatening the Bengali shopkeepers of Chittaranjan Park in the heart of Delhi. Chittaranjan Park is a Bengali colony which is proudly Bengali. Bengalis are a proud fish-eating people. The Kali temple there and the temples there have been built by the community, and this particular temple has actually been built by the shopkeepers and the business community of Chittaranjan Park. You can see how in broad daylight, with complete impunity and audacity, the BJP's goons are threatening shopkeepers and telling them that you cannot have a shop here. Is the BJP going to tell us what we are going to eat and where we can have legal shops? Is the BJP going to tell us that we have to eat dhoklas and say Jai Shri Ram 3 times a day? We have always maintained that the BJP is not for Hindus. These are Hindu shopkeepers. The BJP is anti-Muslim, they are anti-Hindus, they are anti-Constitution. Everybody can see the real colors of the BJP in this, and I hope that people stand up against this and see the real colors of the BJP. And you have some lame statement from the BJP saying, oh, we don't condone this. If you don't condone this, have those people been arrested? Have you arrested those people? I guarantee you, had one of them been a Muslim and had this happened, you would have put them behind jail on non-bailable UAPA charges. You have seen these people on video. Have any one of them been arrested?
However, the BJP has hit back, accusing Moitra of sharing a doctored video aimed at stirring communal tensions. Meanwhile, Delhi BJP President Virendra Sachdeva dismissed her claims, asserting that fish shops were legally allotted and that traders have always respected the sanctity of temples in the area. Aam Aadmi Party leader Saurabh Bharadwaj, who's a former MLA from the constituency, came out in support of the market vendors, calling the alleged threats an attempt by the BJP to create unrest.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी को भारत की संस्कृति के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता। व्हाट्सएप पे जो देख लेते हैं उसको सच मान लेते हैं। चितरंजन पार्क के अंदर जो बंगाली कम्युनिटी है, मैं मानता हूँ सबसे पढ़े लिखे और बुद्धिजीवी लोग वहाँ पे रहते हैं। बंगाल की संस्कृति की नासमझ जो है वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी को भारी पड़ेगी। मुझे लगता है कि जिस हर्षोल्लास से दुर्गा पूजा चितरंजन पार्क में मनती होगी, उससे ज़्यादा उपासना कहीं नहीं होती होगी। और जहाँ पे माँ दुर्गा की पूजा होती है, उसी दुर्गा के प्रांगण के अंदर मच्छी भी मिलती है, नॉन वेजिटेरियन भी मिलता है। उनका वो कल्चर है। वो लोग नवरात्र के अंदर नॉन वेजिटेरियन खाते हैं, वो उनका कल्चर है। आप चुनावों के बाद वहाँ पे पहुँच जाएं और जो लीगल मार्केट है, डीडीए ने बाकायदा मच्छी वालों को वो दुकानें अलॉट की हैं, और आप वहाँ पे दादागिरी करके उनको धमकाएं तो ये ठीक नहीं है। और भारतीय जनता पार्टी ये रेहड़ी और ठेली वाले गरीब लोगों के ऊपर ही क्यों जो है अपना बल आजमाती है। भैया, दिल्ली के अंदर कितने सारे 5 स्टार होटल्स हैं। आप में थोड़ी हिम्मत हो तो उन 5 स्टार होटलों के अंदर भी तो जाओ। 5 स्टार होटलों के अंदर नवरात्रों में क्यों नॉन वेजिटेरियन बन रहा है, क्यों मच्छी बन रही है, उस पर भारतीय जनता पार्टी को कोई एतराज़ नहीं है। 5 स्टार होटलों के अंदर क्यों जो है शराब सर्व हो रही है, उसके ऊपर भारतीय जनता पार्टी को कोई एतराज़ नहीं है। गरीब आदमी अगर मच्छी बेच रहा है, उसके ऊपर ये अपना जोर आजमाते हैं, उसकी वीडियो बना के जो है ये अपनी वीरता दिखाते हैं, गलत है।
That's all for today, but before we go, take a look at these visuals from Vizinjam International Seaport in Kerala, which just received its first mother vessel, MSC Turkey, the world's largest eco-friendly container ship. Operated by Adani Ports, Vizinjam is India's first mega transshipment hub, strategically located just 10 nautical miles from a major global shipping route.